Hello and welcome back to Invitation to Puzzles, where today we have a Skyscraper Kropki puzzle by FullDeck and missing a few cards. So Skyscraper is probably the hardest clue type in Sudoku to wrap your brain around. What did I not put in this row? 4? No. 5? There we go. So let me try and explain how skyscraper rules work. So skyscraper clues are outside the grid. So for example, this 4 here is a skyscraper clue, and spoiler, it's not correct for this random string of digits. But the skyscraper clues are a count. Is the first thing to keep in mind. So they count the number of digits that you see, where we use this little rule to decide what digits we see. So first of all, inductive step 0, you always see the digit immediately in front of the clue. So currently we are at a 1. For each subsequent digit, the recursive definition, if you like, is that you see that digit if it's the highest digit you've seen so far. So this 6 we also see, because it's the highest digit we've seen so far. 4 is not the highest digit we've seen so far, because 6 is. 2 isn't the highest digit we've seen so far. 9 is. And then 1, 7, 8, and 5 aren't. And the clue is meant to be the count of how many things you saw. So from this side, that count would be 3. The 3, the 6, and the 9 we saw. 3 total numbers. And then we did not see the rest. Note this does depend on direction. So if I instead start from over here, we always see the first digit. Then we see a digit if it's the highest number we've seen before, or if we've seen so far. So then we haven't seen that, or it's not that one, it's not that one. It is this one, and we haven't seen these. Okay, so coincidentally, this would also be a 3, but they don't have to be 3 from both sides if it's 3 from one side. In fact, I guess there's not an example in the puzzle where they give you a clue that is different on each side, but they can if they want. The way you're supposed to intuitively think about this, the reason it's called skyscrapers, is you're supposed to imagine that you're standing over here looking at a row of big buildings. But this 8 building is so tall, because it's 8 tall, whatever units you're going to use, 8 units of building tall. It blocks the building that's only 7 units of building high. But you can see over the 5 building to see the 8, and you can see over the 8 to see the 9, but then the 9 blocks everything. So that's like one way to think about it, about what is happening here. All right, though, that is going to be, that's only half the rules. That's the skyscraper half of the rules. We also have Kropki. So these black dots here mean that these digits are in a ratio of 2 to 1. So for example, they could be 8 and 4, or 4 and 8. The order does not matter, just that one is double the other. And the white dots need to be consecutive. So you could do something like 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, 4, or pick other numbers if you would like. So that's how the white dots work. This is called Kropki Pairs because we're not told anything about the presence or absence of consecutive pairs outside of the dot. So for example, this could be 6, 7, and that could be a 3. And even though I could put a black dot here and I didn't, that's not a problem. And even though we could put a white dot here and didn't, that's not a problem either. So that's called Kropki Pairs, and that's what you're going to see 99.9% of the time in puzzles these days. All right, there is a link in the description so that you can give this puzzle a go. Let's go ahead and see what we can do. So my first thing I usually think about in skyscraper puzzles, because it's the one thing that I can think about without hurting my head, is 9s. Namely, once you see the 9, you're not seeing anything else. So, for example, just to take this 6 clue, I can't possibly put a 9 in any of these cells because I will see at most 5 buildings. So none of those are 9. And so in front of each skyscraper clue, I can put a bunch of not 9 coloring. Now, part of the reason why I'm optimistic about this is that black dots also can't have 9s. So I can also color all of my black dots with not 9 coloring. Let's see, because 9 would have to go with an 18 or a 4.5, which don't work very well. Okay, let's see, there's a 4, there's a 3, here's a 6 again. Here's a 2, here's a 4. Okay. Oh, here's a 6 that I missed. So yeah, it's one of those two. One of those two. I'm going to go ahead and note the first thing I actually saw. Oh yeah, I guess I don't even have to note it. Sorry, these just can't be because of the 3. I don't even have to do anything fancy. So now I know that one of these 3 digits is a 9, so I know that none of those are a 9. For what that is worth. Okay. This admittedly has not been quite as revelatory as I hoped, but I guess I at least know lots of cells that aren't 9. I guess I can also like fill in some numbers. Like, what is the largest number I'm putting in front of a 6? Because there's lots of 6s. So I can't put a 9 in front of a 6, but I can't put a 7 in front of a 6 either. Because if I put a 7 in front of the 6, I can only possibly see the 7, the 8, and the 9, which is only 3. So whatever number I put in front of the 6, I need to have 5 numbers bigger than it. And so I think the number that I am describing is at most 4. So I think these are from 1, 2, 3, 4 is what we know out of our rule about 6s. And this one actually is on a black dot that's still in there. So like if I made this a 3, I would need to make that a 6. And now it's a problem because the most I see is 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. That doesn't work. So this can't be a 3. I think I could go for 2. I feel like it's going to be a problem with the other black dot, but I don't necessarily want to think about it that hard. Okay, well, this definitely isn't an 8. I'm at least prepared to say that. Because if this went 4, 8, now again, I'm seeing at most 3 things. So this is also a 1, 2, 4. And so there's definitely a 2 on this black dot. Okay, maybe I lied and I am actually going to think about this because now there's not a 2 on this, or not a 2 here. And so this black dot is forced. Okay, this is very clever. This black dot's forced because it doesn't have a 2. And so there's 2 flavors of black dot, as I usually like to draw my little picture of 1, 2, 4, 8. And you can link any pair of these however you want. And then there's 3, 6. Well, sorry, not however you want. You can go from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, and 4 to 8. But the 2 in this row is gone, so I can't do any of that. So the only options left for this black dot that I have highlighted are 4, 8, and 3, 6. However, 4, 8 would mean that after this is over, I'd see at most 1 more digit because there's only 1 digit bigger than 8. But inconveniently or conveniently, depending on your point of view and level of optimism, that doesn't work with a 6 because then I'd see at most 5 buildings and I need to see 6. So there's no 8 on here. And so it's not 4, 8 either. It's only 3, 6. That is my only option. So I don't. Do we know that that can't be the 6? I don't think we know that that can't be the 6, but we do know that this is a 3, 6, which does also come down here and tell us that we know that this black dot is from 1, 2, 4, 8. I know there's not a 1 here because that would put a 2 in both of those cells, and that's too many 2s. I know that this digit's not an 8 because of the 6 over here. This digit certainly needs to have still 3 digits larger than it, so that's not an 8. Now, probably this is a 984. That would be my guess, but who knows? There is a kind of interesting thing where these white dots I actually know are decreasing, not increasing, because if these were going up, this little chain of 3, if it goes up, then we're seeing at least 4 buildings, because if this goes, say, 4, 5, 6, you've seen all of those, but you've also seen the 9 afterwards. So, in fact, that's the biggest, and they go down. I can, like, draw in, as I sometimes do, my, like, fake thermo, just to say this is the smallest digit, and then those are bigger. This is at most 7. Oh, and this black dot has a similar story to this one over here. So we should retell this story of there's definitely not an 8 on this black dot, because then we would see at most 4 buildings. So this is from 1, 2, 4, 3, 6. In fact, that one can't be a 6, because if so, I would see at most 5, but that one can just get away with it. So that one's not a 3, if I want to be incredibly persnickety about it. But part of the benefit of that is that actually benefits my little thermo Kropki thing here, because now I can't make this a 1 or a 2. Because if I make this a 1 or a 2, then these are going to go either 1, 2, 3 or 2, 3, 4. And that's going to be 5 digits from 1, 2, 3, 4 in the box. So that doesn't work. So this big digit on this thing is at least 5, is how that works out. And at most 7. So actually, we can write this down, and there's actually only 3 options. 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5. Is there always a 6 on it? Is that what we've learned here? No, we could do 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's always a 3 or a 6 on it. That's the point. Okay. So, yeah, and I guess there was a much nicer way to say that, which is that this is a string of 3 consecutive digits, and a string of 3 consecutive digits always has a multiple of 3 on it. That's just a general property of numbers, because every third number is a multiple of 3 is basically why. And so given that that's the case, there's always going to be a 3 or a 6 in here, because we know we've already marked them as not 9. And so given that, what that tells me is that this can't be a 3, 6 black dot, because there's a 3 or a 6 needed to complete these 3 consecutive digits. That's very nice. I like that a lot. Okay, so there's definitely a 2 in this pile of stuff, so that's not a 2. Oops, sorry, not a 2. And also, several of you will have been screaming for several minutes that you can't put a 5 on a black dot. And so this is not a 5, which means that's not a 6 and that's not a 7, actually. So we actually can be even more refined. We now always have a 4 involved in this, right? Was that always true? No, it wasn't true, and that could be a 5. But now there's always a 4, because it's either 3, 4, 5 or 4, 5, 6. So there's no 4 down here either. Which means these are a 1, 2 pair, and that's a 3, which now means that's a 4, 5, and 6. This is a 2 or an 8. If it's an 8, the skyscraper clue is just automatically correct, because we'll see the 6, the 8, and the 9 in the row. This is very interesting now, actually. This 6 clue is going to give us a lot more information. Because I can no longer put the 9 here. And that's because as far as the 6 clue is concerned, I've already forfeited seeing either of these 2 buildings. They're both shorter than the building I put in front of it. So these are both out. They're just unobtainable. And so now I need to see 6 buildings. So that means the 9 can't be earlier than if I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to see buildings at least as far as here. So those aren't 9. So now actually one of these is the 9. And so these aren't 9s by 9 Sudoku stuff. One of these is a 9. Might as well fill in that these are 7, 8, 9, by the way, just for the box. But I also noticed that placed the 9 in column 3 because there were only 2 spots for it before, and we ruled out one of them because of this 3, which is very nice. So that's a 9 and an 8. We can update our 9 coloring. 8 goes with 4. So that's not a 4. That's not a 4 either. Okay. This being a 3... Oh, this could just never have been a 6. I just didn't ever look at it from this point of view of the 6 skyscraper. But this being a 6 just has never worked at any point. Because if this is a 6, then you see at most 1 plus 4 digits, because there's only 4 numbers bigger than 6. Even ignoring the fact that I now actually know that I don't see the 8 in this column. So this was always a 3 and a 6 once we had that. Okay, so those are a 2 and a 4. There we go. Okay, so So I need to miss one number out of this column. And that one number is 2. So there's a 2 somewhere in the column, and the other numbers go in order, is I guess one way to think about that. I think probably I could make an intelligent statement about that if I really wanted to. I should certainly mark that this digit right here is a black dot digit that sees 1, 2, and 3. So this is only 4, 6, or 8. Meaning this is only 2, 3, or 4, or 8. It's not the most potent deduction I've ever made in the history of my life, but what can you do? Okay. These are either both high or both low. Okay, I can look at this digit now, actually. If this is a 3, it goes with a 6. If this is a 1, it goes with a 2. And if this is a 2, it goes with a 1. So these are either a 1, 2 pair or a 3, 6 pair. These two have to go in order, for whatever that's worth. Okay. I'm debating if I really want to pencil mark this column to death. I'm a little bit afraid that I'm going to pencil mark it to death, and it's going to turn out it wasn't actually that useful, and I'm just going to have spent my soul doing that for no good reason. Yeah, fine, we'll do it. Okay, so there's a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So this is only a 2 or a 7. This is never a 7. This is actually never a 2. Oh, okay. So this is never a 2. So I actually know what digit this is. So remember in this, if I sort of look at what buildings I see in this column, these two I don't see. And since 9 minus 6 is 3, there's only one more I don't see. The one more I don't see is wherever I put the 2 in the column. So therefore, I must see this cell because it's not 2. But if it's anything but 7, then the 7 in the column is above it, and that doesn't work. So this has to be the 7, which now actually does make that the 2, does make that the 8. So those aren't 2, that's not 7. And now again, if this is a 6, then I don't see the 5, that doesn't work. So this is the 6, and that's the 5. This isn't an 8 anymore. Okay, so it was not foolish to go through all of that, it turned out. And maybe it was foolish, but it paid off. The bet paid off this time. Okay, so this is a 4 or a 6. There's a 7. There's a 9 over there. The 8 in this row. say in row whatever this row is, in row 6, is over here just by Sudoku. There's an 8 looking over, so that is an 8 with the 9. So this is an 8-9 pair. And likewise, actually, the 7 in this box is with the 9. So these are a 7-9 pair. So this digit's, in fact, just an 8. Because it's next to 7 or 9, but it's not 6, so it's an 8. Good to know. So there's no 8 down here. So this is like any of a bajillion different digits, I guess. This is no longer able to be a 4, because that would have needed to be a 2 or an 8, and it can be neither. So that's a 4-6, for what that's worth. In fact, actually, this row, if I write it out, we've got 1, 2, 3, and 79. So these are just 4, 5, 6, and that one's not the 6. So I know what the cells I don't see in this row are, because one of these two is a 6. And so it blocks that cell, and these are also blocked. So I must see every other digit within this row in order to get to my requisite 6. So that means if I sort of go backwards, that has to be the 9 and the 8. You have to keep up the coloring. It's very important. This is unseen. But now if that were the 6, it would create 2 unseen digits. So that's not the 6. That's the 6, which goes with a 3. And now, yeah, that 4, 5 is seen and that 4, 5 is unseen. I just don't know what order they go in. This is 2 or 4. These are a pair of something and something. One of them is a 1. The other's a 3, it looks like. And these are a 1, 2, 3. I guess this portion of the grid is roped. I guess I didn't even notice. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything, but I'll explain what I mean by that. It just means that 4, 5, 6, that 4, 5, 6, and that 4, 5, 6 are all the same 3 digits. Think about it like your Neapolitan ice cream. You've got the 1, 2, 3 flavor, the 4, 5, 6 flavor, and the 9, 8, 7 flavor, all somewhat uncomfortably shoved in an ice cream carton together. And those same 3 flavors are what appear in each of these rows. A lot of times that's like part of the logic. If it was part of the logic here, I definitely didn't see it. But it will let me pencil mark that those 2 cells are 4, 5, having noticed the roping at some point. Okay, so that does a little bit, because I know I see at least one of these 4, 5s. I see the 6 and I see the 9. I know I don't see those. So I have to be careful not to see too many more digits in this row, but I guess I don't quite know enough yet to fully rule that all out. Yeah, this is a 1, 2, or a 3, 6. So we've got sort of like both 1, 3s in the column somehow. We know, oh, in fact, that's just the 8, actually, just by Sudoku. That's the 8. Occasionally, we should look at Sudoku. So there's an 8 over here somewhere, and it's not there, because if this is an 8, that digit's less than 8, and we see at least 3 digits. So one of those is an 8. Let's see, is there any other immediate Sudoku that is available? There's an 8 in one of these cells. Okay, yeah, there's an 8 in one of these 2 cells by Sudoku, but if there were an 8 here, this 6 would not get to 6. It would only get to at most 5. So we can pencil that 8 in. So there's an 8 over here somewhere that I don't know anything about, I don't think. Let's see. I know there's a 6 in one of these cells, but I don't think I know anything about that. I don't quite know what's going on over there. The 3 is either there or there. It doesn't really help me very much. I guess I know this digit's at most 6, but I don't think that helps me very much either. Okay, what am I looking for now, then? Like, I know that this is a, like, bizarro sort of thermo. I guess I could write in what digits these can be. That doesn't seem like a good idea. Oh, should I be looking at this 4 clue that I have completely ignored? Because I think I have completely ignored this 4 clue. Okay, so what can this digit be? So it can't be as high as 7. So it's certainly from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we actually see it sees 3, 4, and 6. 5, 6, 8, and then a 9 up there would do it. That would be fine. I'm a little concerned about this getting too high, but I don't think it does with any of these other options. That I can see. What can this digit be? Anything, as long as there's a 9 after it. So that's not super helpful. I guess I know this digit's not a 9 now, because if it was, it would put an 8 on the dot, and we know that digit's not an 8. So yeah, this dot is actually a lot more restricted than it looks, because if it's high digits, it's only 6, 7. And if it's low digits, it can't even be 1, 2. So it would have to be from 3, 4, 5. And in fact, in that universe, sorry, not even 3, 4, 5, just 3, 4. Sorry, 2, 3, 4. It would be from 2, 3, 4. But in the universe where it was 2, 3, 4, that one's not the 3. So that one would be the 3. So our opportunities for this white dot are very restricted in surprising ways that I don't think are at all relevant to my understanding of this puzzle. This cell can't be 9 anymore, which is slightly relevant, very slightly relevant. If this cell is 9, I would need to see all 6 of these, but I know this cell is unseen because we've already had a 4, and this is at most a 5. Sorry, I guess I don't know that this cell is unseen, but I know that these aren't both seen, because if they were both seen, we'd have to go up from 4 and up from there. So yeah, if all 6 of these were seen, this would be a thermo that had a 4 here and at most a 5 2 later, I guess, is one way to think about it. Anyway, this is not a 9, which tells me that one of these two is a 9, which tells me that these aren't. But I don't think that does anything either. But hey, it lets me continue my coloring, so that's one of the ways to make a zeta happy. What else do we have going on? This can't be a 9 either. Because if this is a 9, in order to make this 2 clue work, it would have to be that the only 2 things I saw were the 8, which is definitely in front of the 9 and the 9. Because if the 9 is here, the 8 is in front of it, by definition. However, that would put the 8 there, because you definitely see that cell, but that cell's not an 8. So, in fact, actually, I'm prepared to do a little bit more not 9ing. So there's another cell that can be not 9'd. Yeah, like this just seems like this could be a 9, or I could put an 8, 7, 9. Like it feels like I don't quite have any say on what happens with that. Oh. No, sorry. I was going to say, this 7, 9 is resolved by this, but it's not, because the 8 blocks the 7 regardless. So this 3 is always correct. Had a moment of panic that I had done something completely silly. Okay, so this cell is maybe more restricted than it looks. So what is it by the 6 clue? I guess by the 6 clue, it's at most 8. So that's maybe not super useful. It can be 1. It can't be 2, 3, 4. It can be 5. It can't be 6. It can be 7, and it can't be 8 or 9. So that wasn't it wasn't maximally satisfying, we'll say. Wait, does this 6 tell me the order of the 2, 4? Only if I can argue that I don't see this. No, because I could still see. Yeah, so if this went 4, 2, 3. Oh, wait, okay, sorry. Let me say it this way. Okay, so maybe actually I can. So this 3 is definitely unseen. Because it's got a 4 in front of it, regardless of what order the 2 and the 4 go in. So we've seen at most 3 at this point. In order for me to so we have seen at most 3 at this point. Is the point. And so we still need to see 3 more. But if we've only seen 2 at this point, that is, if this went 4, 2, 3, 6, then I've only seen the 4 and the 6, and I still need to see 4 more. I can't. There aren't 4 numbers bigger than 6. So this does have to go 2, 4 like this. And now, actually, I still do, even with that, have to see 3 more numbers. That means I have to see the 7, then the 8, then the 9. The 9 is after the 8, but the 8 is in one of these 2 cells, so therefore that's the 9 and that's the 8, is how that has to work. So we can D9 a few additional cells. Okay, and so that has given me the 5 and the 4. And now this is a 3, 6 because it doesn't have a 2 on it. So that's a 1, 3. Okay, that was not a horribly complicated deduction, but I for some reason I was convinced it didn't matter, and so I didn't look at it, but actually it was available from the very beginning, I believe, basically. Okay, so I definitely need to see the 7 in one of these cells, but fun fact, by Sudoku, I am going to see the 7 in one of those cells. But now the 9 in this column is placed. I see. Well, that's good. Okay, and so now this is the 7 and that's the 8. So now that's the 3 and that's the 2. So now that's the 1 and that's the 2. Oh, 6 is just placed in this row. I see, just by, in fact, it's placed in this box even. The 6 is there. Uh-oh. I have now broken it, I think. Yep, I missed something. How far back is it? I think it's probably something to do with the 7 and the 9. Oh, I apparently went way back further than I needed to. Oops. Okay. Where did it not like it? Oh, it didn't like that. Oh. I understand why it didn't like that. I see. Okay. Let me recap what happened. Because you probably blurred through all that. So, fun fact, when I filled in this 3 on this white dot, I said, so this is A, and then I just filled it in as a 2, even though 3 and 4 are famously also consecutive. And it turned out, apparently, that that was not the consecutive number that the decks had in mind. So anyway, so we're going to resume back here. You probably watched like a fast forward of me like filling in a bunch of digits and then breaking them, but there's still plenty to do. So we can still fill in like that is a 9. We can check and make sure I haven't somehow screwed up something else. I did not think so. Okay. So, right. So we know we've got a 7 in here somewhere. Okay. Was my argument that this can't be a 7 correct? I think that was still correct. Yeah, so in the long ago, in the part of the video you did not see, I realized that this digit being a 7 causes an interesting problem, which is that if this digit is a 7, then I've placed the 9 there. So then I see the 7, the 8, and the 9, and the 6 in the column, plus that digit, and that's 5 digits, which is too many. So this is always actually the 9, which is a weird deduction that I don't think I've quite seen before. In that format, at least. So that at least lets me mark that there's a 7 over here somewhere, which lets me mark that one of these two is a 7. I know there's a 7 in this row somewhere. Okay, what is left in this column? There's a 5 and a 7. I don't think I know anything about the order yet. Oh, I do know the order because that can't be a 7. Okay, this is nice. If this is a 7, remember this is this 3 here says I have to go 7, 8, 9, but I can't because of that 8. So in fact, that's a 5. Why is this seeing a 5? Oh, okay, well, ignore the red digit before you and admire the nice logic about how this being a 7 would break the skyscraper clue. And then go, oh yeah, that sorts it out. Okay. So this number has to be bigger. So it can only be 7 because it's got to be bigger than 5, but it's not 6 or 8 or 9. So it's 7. So now that's not a 7. Okay, so that 5, 7, 9 is done. These are a 1 and a 2. It would seem. These are a 9 and a 6, it would seem. Okay, so what shall we do now? I know I need the 7 for the 8, but that's all fine. That 3 is fine. Yeah, I can't miss much here. I know one of these two is a 6. Should I fill out this 1, 5, 7? I guess I know one of these two is a 3. Ah, yes. Okay, so let's do it this way. One of these two is a 3, and it's not that one. Because if it's that one, then I see more than 2 skyscrapers, because I see the 3, I see the 9, and I either see the 4 or I see something that blocks the 4. And either of those is a third skyscraper. So that's not the 3. That's the 3. Let's see. This row I might as well fill in. It's 1, 5, 7. That one's not 7 because of the 7 looking up from down there. Okay, so this number's got to be bigger than 4 because of the argument that I just made. So this is 5, 6, 7 are the only options. Doesn't, I feel like, tell me very much. There's a 3 over here somewhere. Okay, so we see the 6 and the 9. So this can't be a 5 anymore, actually. That's the next point. If this is a 5 now, if I'd chased this better, it would have gone better. If this is a 5 now, I see the 5, the 6, and the 9, but I can't see anything else because this 1, 2 is definitely blocked, and this 2, 4 is definitely blocked. So that's not a 5. Well, that gives me a 1-2 pair, which makes that a 4. That's not a 1 because of the 1-2 pair. Now I see the 1-2, the 4, the 6, and the 9. So we're golden. We have finished that for Skyscraper. One thing I sometimes do is like X off the Skyscraper clues as I finish them. I have apparently opted not to do that this time, but sometimes I do it. So this is also a 5 or a 7. Oh, I didn't mark that it's not a 9, but it's also a 5 or a 7 by the column, which seems to make that a 1. Seems to make that not a 1. Okay, well, this can't be a 5, because if it's a 5, it makes that a 7, which then breaks the 2 clue. So that's definitely not a 5 at the very least. We know there's a 1 in one of those cells by Sudoku. Can we do any other Sudoku page? I don't know. And how am I doing on my other Skyscraper clues? Yeah, I think the others are all good, except for this one in this bottom row down here. Oh, 8 is just placed here by Sudoku. I was going to try and place it by some sort of Skyscraper logic, but I don't even have to do that. And that is the last 8 in the puzzle, funnily enough. Okay, I know, looking at the row, that these 3 cells are not seen by the 6 Skyscraper clue. So every other cell is seen by the Skyscraper clue. Which I think, if I think about it very hard, is enough to convince me that this digit has to be a 5. Because if this digit isn't a 5, well, then what is it? I guess I could even do it this way. This digit's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, or 9. This digit is just a naked single 5. You could also do it by Skyscrapers, but maybe saying it's a naked single 5 is easier than arguing it by Skyscrapers. Okay, so what about this digit? Now, it's at least 6. So I think it's going to be 6 or 7, not 8 or 9. And then this is going to be the other 6 or 7, except it's not a 6. So this is a 7 and a 6, which has made that the 7 by our pencil marks, which has made that the 9, which has blown those 2 cells. I blew myself for you, Michael, as they say. 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. 1, 6. See, these are 2 and 5. I see. They're 2 and 5, and I know the order because of that going on up there. Like that. Let's see. One of these is a 1, and it's that one. This, if I look at it, seems to be a 6. These are a 2, 4. Let's see. There's our last 9s. They held out longer than they usually do in a Skyscraper puzzle. Quite often, kind of like how in German Whisper puzzles, often you place all the 5s first. Quite often in a Skyscraper puzzle, you just place all of the 9s at the beginning. This digit is a 2 or a 4. That's not a 4. Let's see. And so now these are a 3 and a 4 that go in that order. Success! We got there. Aside from a boo-boo that I made in the middle, where I may or may not have broken the world just a little bit. But anyway, we succeeded. So thank you for joining us. Let me know how you enjoyed that puzzle. I find that skyscrapers are usually like one of the harder variants to get your mind around the first time you do them. So if this is one of your first times doing a skyscraper puzzle, let me know in the comments how it went for you. And if skyscrapers are your favorite genre, which I know there are some of you out there, you might be a little bit weird, but let me know that in the comments too. I always love to hear the people who this is their favorite one. But all right, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for the nice puzzle, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.